near and far. On behalf of my brother Louis and his wife Nadia, my brother Brett and his wife Jody, and myself and my husband Craig, we'd like to thank you ever so much for being here today to celebrate the life and spirit of Anne Fulton Smith, beloved mother and mother-in-law, sister, grandmother, aunt, wife, and friend. We'd like to acknowledge the distant travels of our 6 grandchildren to be with us today. We've got Evan and Daniel, who come from Washington, D.C., Rheo, Keegan, and Shea from Asheville, North Carolina, and Parker all the way from Glasgow, Scotland. We also have joining us our cousins, Robert and Jeff Landis here, and Robert's wife, Joy, who come from California. And also today our mom's friends from her community at the Atrium in Minnetonka, where she lived for 13 years and developed many close friendships, as well as his first husband and father of her 3 children, Phil Smith. And to each and every one of you who have come today to help us remember, honor, celebrate, and hopefully even giggle a little about the life of Anne Fulton Smith. Please join us upstairs in the balcony after we finished here for a reception. And I also just want to say that the service is being recorded today, so if you know somebody who wanted to be here today and couldn't, if you want to make a note of your email address in the guest book out there, I will send you a YouTube link later on, so this can be shared. Welcome.
Boys, that packed with emotion. Wow. It's amazing how pictures and music together can just go right to the core. That's the music of Mom played for us at the piano. And with Mom those pictures, it brings back for us some really special, intense memories. So we're gathered here to celebrate Mom, who was a fun, complex, silly, jovial, fun-loving person. And there's some elements today that we just need to make sure we're all aware of so that you can have a sense of it. Her grandkids are going to share their memories through music and readings. Her cousins, or I guess that would be nephews, our cousins, have great memories, and the three of us as siblings much to share. This arboretum is a player in the experience. Mom loved the garden, loved the outdoors, and this is her sanctuary. This is her church, and it has a lot of family history as well. Dad was very involved with the orchestration and creation of this space. Leon Snyder sat at our dinner table, and we heard them talk about the creation of this space. So to be here in her memory is a special thing. As we gather, we grieve, we share stories, and continue to laugh with our silly Mom. So there'll be some music, and to the extent that you're able to stand, we'd love for you to do that as we sing. If you can harmonize, all the better, to hear the four voices that can potentially, four voice parts that can potentially happen. Welcome, we're glad you're here.
In muddy water under the lily pads, there lived a little water beetle in a community of water beetles. They lived very simple and comfortable lives in the pond with few disturbances and interruptions. Once in a while, sadness would come to the community when one of their fellow water beetles would climb the stem of the lily pad and would never be seen again. They knew that when this happened, their friend was dead, gone forever. Then one day, one little water beetle felt an irresistible urge to climb up that stem. However, he was determined that he would not leave forever. He would come back and tell his friends what he had found at the top. When he reached the top and climbed out of the water onto the surface of the lily pad, he was so tired, and the sun felt so warm, that he decided he must take a nap. As he slept, his body changed, and when he woke up, he had turned into a beautiful blue-tailed dragonfly with broad wings and a slender body designed for flying. So fly he did. As he soared, he saw the beauty of a whole new world, and a far superior way of life to what he had never known existed. When he remembered his beetle friends and how they were thinking by now he was dead, he wanted to go back and tell them and explain to them that he was now more alive than he had ever been before. His life had been fulfilled rather than ended. But his new body would not go down into the water. He could not get back to tell his friends the good news. Then he understood that their time would come when they too would know what he now knew. So he raised his wings and flew off into his joyous new life. Up until this very moment, I've been debating about what memory I wanted to share here, because the simple fact is there are so many amazing memories that I have with my grandmother. and talking about life, reading bedtime stories, and giggle juice. For those of you who don't know, giggle juice is my grandmother. It was her idea of a cure for a bad mood, and that was something we were, never supposed to tell our mother we were given because giggle juice would cause problems. But I think the most important memory for me is my last one of Skyping her from Scotland, because she was still so bubbly, so lively, so normal, and we sang, and we joked, we laughed, and even though she was clearly weakening, she was still making such an effort to be full of life. And that's just kind of how she was. She was always very happy and bubbly and cheerful and ready to make you smile. And that's a memory that I'll keep with me for forever. I think that's a very important memory. There's a bridge above of golden rings. A boat floats on to other things. A river flows in time and never stops. And in the morning are small dewdrops. A woman sits and molds her hair. 'Tis gray, and her wrinkled hands, there are held to hug a boy. She laughs and smiles. She sings. I love you, a bushel and a peck. A bushel and a peck, and a hug around the neck.
Blessing for the Dying by McCormick. May death come gently toward you, leaving you time to make your way through the cold embrace of fear to the place of inner tranquility. May death arrive only after a long life to find you at home among your own with every comfort and care you require. May your leave-taking be gracious, enabling you to hold dignity through awkwardness and illness. May you see the reflection of your life's kindness and beauty in all the tears that fall for you. As your eyes focus on each face, may your soul take its imprint, drawing each image within as companions of the journey. May you find for each one you love a different locket of jeweled words to be worn around the heart to warm your absence. May someone who knows and loves you take the complex village of your heart and be there to echo you back to yourself and create a sure-word raft to carry you to further shore. May your spirit feel the surge of true delight when the veil of the visible is raised and you glimpse again the living faces of departed family and friends. May there be someone beautiful and a surprise waiting for you inside death, something you never knew or felt, which one simple touch absolves you of all of your loneliness and loss. As you quicken within the embrace for which your soul was eternally made. May your heart be speechless at the sight of the truth of all belief had hoped your heart breathless. In the light and lightness where each and everything is at last its true self. Within the last serene belonging that dwells beside us on the other side of what we see.
My aunt, I must admit, she was my favorite. Without question, she was my favorite. We had a very unique relationship, which I miss explosively. She was there pretty much for every thing in our family, and she supported us greatly. I would call her. She was a very sincere twin student. And we would call and talk about baseball. But I would always get updates on you kids by name. Her telling me when you were coming, when she would see you, what you were going to do, and the excitement of it. She truly enjoyed her courage. When my mother and my father passed, I felt lonely. It was my kids that I called. And if you take nothing else away, you know how loving she was to all of us.
Good afternoon. It's good to be with you and to be able to share in the joy of my aunt's life. We come from a small family. In fact, on my mother's side, there was only one woman I could ever call aunt. And I remember one time I failed and called her Ann as an adult. And she quickly called my mother to let her know, "Tell Jeffrey I only have 2 nephews. He better call me Aunt Ann every time we talk." And I never forgot. Aunt Ann, in the Fulton family, there's 2 wide, divergent sides to the family. There's one side that's rather cool and aloof, and there's one side that's very warm and caring. Aunt Ann was always from the warm and caring side. Many of my childhood memories include Aunt Ann. My first airplane trip was to fly to Minneapolis to visit Aunt Ann. It was the first time I ever saw Minnehaha Falls. I thought it was the most glorious thing I'd ever seen in my life. Every subsequent trip, she took me to see Minnehaha Falls. As my brother said, she was there for our weddings, for our family occasions, for our get-togethers. Many summers I remember the joy of either the Smiths coming to Indiana when we still lived there, or the Landises going to Minnesota. One July, I remember being in Minnesota with Aunt Ann and my wife. I had married by then. We were watching 4th of July fireworks, which to us from California, the mosquitoes look like little drones. My wife was anxious to get back to California, but it was just so joyful to spend that time with my aunt and to know her love. And as my brother mentioned, our parents had both passed away. Aunt Ann was just a rock for my mother, but my father died 5 years ago. She stayed in California for an extended time so that she could support her sister and help out in any way. And some of the most hilarious moments I remember are these two short, older, plump women running around the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area having the time of their lives and taking away a lot of the pain my mother experienced. They spoke to each other every day, sometimes multiple times a day after my father died. And their love for each other was a support, I suspect, for both of them, and was a great comfort to us. The Landises, my side of the family, and the Smiths, we've got a lot of things we don't agree on. I don't think we have ever voted for the same presidential candidate. We don't talk about religion much because we disagree so much on it. And I discovered that we don't even eat the same kind of diet. Last night, one of my cousins was talking about kale and ketchup. I wonder where we came from. What binds us together and what bound us to Aunt Ann was never the areas we agreed on. It was a love that binds a family together and cords that tightly holds us together in hard times and in good times. Joyful times that we enjoy and we will remember forever. The hardest thing I have ever done, other than say goodbye to my parents, was saying goodbye to my Aunt Ann a few weeks ago. She is going to be greatly missed, and she will be forever loved.
Let's stand and sing a song that comes from our past Judson Church. Back in the 60s. Lots of good memories. Warnings Road.
First
moms. Not just the quick pick or the cash 5, but the whole big lottery for all moms that ever worked. I feel empowered to say that because I've always known, no matter what I do, day to day and year to year, that I've always known her unwavering and unquestionable support. And as I've made my way through the twists, turns, and adventures of life, she has been there to give me encouragement and approval every step of the way. Her expression of, "Honey, I believe in you," was the ideal fuel for my life's vehicle. And I never would have made it so well on so many of those adventures without that fuel from her. When I graduated high school, I set out on my own. I started by heading to Europe by myself with savings from waiting tables. And instead of the discouraging fear of the unknown, she empowered me with acceptance. "Sweetheart, you go wherever your heart desires," she said. "Just please either call me each Sunday or give me a phone number where I can call you." And those adventures took me a long way from home, for a very long time. Yet she rarely expressed her sadness for my distance away, but instead saw from my perspective the fulfillment of the life I've led. And for 32 years, we've talked on Sunday mornings. Mom taught me the importance of family. From the preparation of meals for family gatherings to sending boxes of cookies in the mail for her grandchildren, she always put family first. She baked our wedding cake in Minnetonka, as we saw in a photo there, and had it shipped to Key West on dry ice. She came to our home to stay and help out after the arrival of each of our 4 sons. She traveled cross-country numerous times, even though she was on oxygen, for family visits, including a visit to our home in Asheville last spring, and to attend Aunt Susie's memorial last August in California. If it was for family, Mom made it a top priority. And you couldn't know Mom without knowing she loved food and loved cooking. Her favorite foods included chocolate and steak, but she would venture into almost any culinary delight. Family favorites growing up included spaghetti with homemade sauce, lasagna, Swedish meatballs, chicken chow mein, a Japanese stir-fry we called sukiyaki, pot roast, sliced tomatoes, cucumber salad, and sweet corn. Lots and lots of sweet corn. And was she a baker? From beautiful birthday cakes where the number of layers matched our age, to numerous pies, cookies, and muffins, she baked for everyone she knew and made many friends in the process. Mom and Susie, her sister, were lucky the day a young lady named Myrtle came into their lives and stayed with the family for generations. Beginning when Mom was age 4, Myrtle brought them lifelong love, joy, and friendship. I recently found in my mom's papers 2 pages written by Myrtle entitled, "My Memorial Things of Anne Fulton Smith." And some of it reads, "I first saw her at age 4, full of energy, very inquisitive, in every way a child would think. She was thoughtful of all, although she could be mischievous. She and her sister were always close, and as a rule helpful. Anne was smart in school and at home. This little lady would ask if she could help me, and a lot of time I would let her do so. She was a good planner of things. Her little head was like a clock, never stopped ticking. Anne and Susie used to watch me cook. Of course, I always cleaned up after them. It was a fulfilling life in doing it. They did good sharing the toys and things. Sometimes they disagreed. They used to have pillow fights at nighttime. Then after they finished their little ordeal, I heard, 'Our beds are torn up.' And of course, I got up and straightened them. All in all, they were a pleasure to be around. Anne was loved, and I still have my love for her forever. Signed, always your friend, Myrtle. And then, after I am gone, my spirit will always be with you." This page was followed by a list of Mom's accomplishments, including playing in the coal chute, fighting Susie, eating the apple and tomato peelings Myrtle peeled, coming home from school singing "Pistol Packin' Mama," making homemade biscuits for supper with Myrtle's help at the age of 6 that, quote, "were good." And the list ends. All the incidents of childhood things made me so happy. Deep down inside of me, there was a ray of sunshine always. I enjoyed every bit of it, every day, week, month, and years. Love you, Anne. Myrtle loved my mother and taught her to love. Myself, empowered by that love, I'm able to bring it forward to the next generation. For me, the essence of being human is embodied in our ability to love, to share and show love, to feel love, and then to pass it along. Mom showed and shared love with finesse, with grace, and with dignity. And that's why I want to Mom honor you.
She had lots of momisms. Some of you might recognize a few of these things. And if you can imagine high, maybe soprano lilt with gusto. Golly Moses! Oh my goodness gracious! Jimmy Crickets! Oh my golly! I can't get all over all the people that are here. You are so precious. All of those and many more were words that ring true for who she was and how she shared her thoughts. She had the gift of gab. Boy, did she have the gift of gab. She could meet anyone, anywhere, at any time, and strike up a lengthy conversation and learn so much about that person that by the end of that conversation, she would be able to let them know why they were special. And they would walk away on cloud nine, having met somebody for the first time and feeling so good. That's who her personality was. She was able to make those encouraging connections, and she would go on, sometimes talking, worried that maybe she wasn't going to come up for air. And my thought was maybe that's why she had been on oxygen for 5 years. She just couldn't stop talking. We know there are other reasons. She was the ultimate teacher. She had many significant life challenges that for many would have created a tailspin and our end. But she didn't let that happen. She had significant childhood trauma, early death of her father, a lifelong battle with depression, and 2 failed marriages. And through all of this, she sought out help, counseling, looked for tools and ways that she could rise above and smile and find the greatness in life. She found those tools and she passed them on to us as well. At every turn in her parenting, she was tireless in her effort to make sure that her struggles were not going to be repeated in our lives, that our lives would be better for the 3 of us. She made the 3 of us feel extremely special, that we were, each of us, very, very important in her life, no more one than the other. She provided counseling for Lisa and I at a critical time in our lives that made a difference in who we are today. And but for that, we would be very different. And more than anything, in my mind, she taught us the medicinal qualities of music and how it can be a transformative experience and impact for each of us. She made our home a place where music was woven into the fabric of our lives. She created our life soundtrack at the piano. She was an accomplished pianist. She was the accompanist, as you may have seen in the pictures, for her high school choir during the high school graduation. She was there accompanying the choir. She accompanied many musicals at our church, and there are such strong memories, whether it be caroling around the piano, as you may remember in the picture, the musical soundtracks that she brought into our home, Clair, Lune, Debussy, Scott Joplin. The music that is in our ears today was provided by her. She gave us lessons of every sort. If we were interested, well, we're going to make it happen. And she let us pursue our interests in that way. She took us to great performances, whether it was the Minnesota Orchestra or the Nutcracker seasonally, or great performances of significant artists that came through town. She ensured, as little pumpkins, we were in the seats to hear Buddy Rich and get up on stage with him and have those opportunities. She also had a calming effect on us with her voice. Amazing for, when we think of her voice and all of its character. we would take train trips back and forth to Hartford City and to her home in Hartford City. And on those trips, she would sing to us the songs that we'll be singing in a bit, the songs that were so important. And those lessons were just so significant for us. We learned that life's most intense emotional times could be relieved with our own music making, giving us a great outlet of expression and emotional release as we sang You Are My Sunshine. Each of us will have our own challenges in life. And through her example, we will also rise above and be stronger. She taught us how to move beyond life's challenges and find the beauty in each moment. Mom changed our lives, opened doors, empowered us to be ourselves and be our best. She will live on through us and impact so many of us in the years ahead, living on into perpetuity.
My mom just loved to party, and she would really, really love this party, especially with her friends from her Hatred community, with her children and her grandchildren. This place was also, as Brett and Lisa shared, a very special place for our family, and I think it's particularly sweet that the Snyders are hosting her party now after she entertained them so much. In my grieving in the last few weeks, I had a hard time finding words, and in the darker times, the dryness, or the lack of the right words has been a struggle for me. But I've landed, I think I'm first of all pretty cried out through this service and the joy and the beauty of it. And I found three words that are going to guide me, and they are joy, courage, love. You could sense the joy of my mother's zest for living just through the energy of her voice, as Brett has shared. She was excited, she was enthusiastic about reading each day, and she found special moments to relish in some of the simplest things. Her pillow fights with Aunt Susie, and cooking with Myrtle. The Saturdays she spent in a routine with her father every Saturday morning, following him to his office and then following him to the barber shop, and just seeing life accompanying her father was a great joy. Mother, she delighted in birds, the presence of a wren, or the sighting of a goldfinch, or a pileated woodpecker, or finding a Baltimore Oriole's nest, were things she just relished and would go on and on about with excitement. Of course, gardening and flowers, as we've seen in the pictures, and trees, she would identify and teach us about special trees, and she was willing to stand and fight for lakeshore trees, and take a strong stand, and that was just also part of her joy and relishing nature that was passed on. She had a joy and a zest for the English language. She would share with us her struggles with Chaucer, but also expressed herself, her emotions with such clarity in writing. And we really appreciated the written word. She found great joy in cooking and baking, as Lisa shared, and her favorite dishes she would describe to die for. The cake was just to die for. The tomatoes, fresh off the vine in Indiana, were just to die for. And a bite of rare steak was just to die for. My earliest memories of her and the joyful energy she lived with, sharing were in times when I was just growing up, being the eldest, just her and I marching through life those first 5 years. And because we lived in a neighborhood without many children, I had imaginary friends. And she embraced and indulged me in all of my imaginary friends, and she delighted in this new vocabulary I was creating with all these silly words, and told me that was just great. And she even suspended her judgment when I reported to her that an older boy in the neighborhood had dared me to eat a worm and I had done it. So, in all these ways, she found joy in such simple things. And that joy was all the sweeter because of her courage. The courage with which she lived through life despite her struggles and challenges. I came onto the scene when she was just 19 years old. And in the face of a fair amount of challenge, she dedicated herself to raising me with a great sense of determination about how to march through being a mother. Despite lots of other suggestions, she knew in her own heart how she wanted to raise her children. And she did so with such courage. I had a really powerful glimpse of her courage when I was 10 years old. It is the first memory I have of my awareness of mortality. There I was, just thrilled to pieces, playing Little League Baseball and figuring out how joyful life could be. And suddenly it occurred to me that I was going to die. And I shared this with Mom. And her words of courage and comfort were so powerful. Without claiming to know something, she simply said, Louis, death is just a part of the mystery of the journey we're on. And with her comfort, she didn't want to lead me down many paths she couldn't claim to know about. But she guided me with a comforting sense that death was just a part of the mystery of this journey. So it was in the face of her own illness, with the struggles of her heart and lungs giving out for time, that we saw her face her own mortality with such courage. And many times you would think that just getting up to walk and trying to struggle to breathe would be enough to give up. But she was at peace with her condition and determined to live strongly and courageously in the face of those challenges and in the face of that physical threat of her heart and lungs giving out. And I was so reminded of that 10-year-old boy who had such comforting words about our mortality being part of the mystery of our journey. Which brings me to love. Now, this will be perhaps a surprise for Nadia and Jody and Greg, but Mom's 3 children were pretty much perfect. And so were her grandchildren. I think a better way, more honestly, to put it is that I knew that she loved me despite my shortcomings. She saw in me my very best self and inspired me toward that self. I figured out last night, I don't know why, but Mom and I shared this journey on Earth 21,000 days. Not 21,000 more or less, but exactly 21,000 days. And each day of those 21,000, that the sun rose, it never set without me knowing, confident that I was loved. And that is such a precious gift, to encounter each day with the sun rising and setting, knowing in your heart that you are loved. It's also, I think, a special mother's love that is shared with a lifelong sense that you know just as the sun will rise, that your mother's love is there. In the last days, the last week of her life, really, we had some hard times. Brad and Lisa and I especially shared those last 7 days with Mom. The hard part was, it was like watching your mother slowly hurt. It was awful. But in the midst of that, what I experienced was this loving energy that she had been about all of her life was gathered up and surrounded her through each other. And it was being transferred. As that energy was leaving her, Brad, Lisa, and I found the joy of being together and a sense of love and commitment to each other. We found very, very special, which I think only a mother's love can gather and nurture. So I give thanks for Mom. I give thanks to God for Mom, for the radiant joy for life with which she lived, for the courage and faith with which she encountered darkness, knowing it was followed by light, and that warm, steadfast, loving energy that only a mother's love can give. Mom's very favorite song is the one we're about to sing. You are my sunshine. Shall we stand? Thank you all. Again, remember that Mom is inviting you to lunch after this celebration. Please join us. And here are some words of blessing. The mystery and the beauty of sunshine is that it's eternal. Storm clouds, fog, the darkness of night, or the pain of death might obscure our view. But the sun rises to break open each new day, and it has done so since the beginning of time. The sun shines powerfully, infinitely, even when we cannot see. We give thanks today for the sunshine that our mother, grandmother, aunt, and friend, and Fulton Smith brought to our lives. And we give thanks that the love she shared with us, the love she taught us, and the love she lived with us shines brightly with God's grace eternally. May we leave here comforted and inspired to keep this sunshine bright in our hearts, loving one another, now and always. Amen. Like the Navajo blanket, which is intentionally flawed, so is our bulletin. So there are many different verses to Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. It'll be interesting to see which ones become